Hello and welcome to Fab City Now. I'm Danny Beesley, the host. I'm the CEO of Idea Builder Labs and also the executive director of Fab City Bay Area. This show is where we dive in and we talk about this idea of Fab City, where we are collectively promoting this concept and pushing hard to achieve the goal of creating cities that have the capacity to produce everything they consume. It's a very daunting task, but we're going to continue to dive in and discover conversations and ideas about how this crazy idea is actually coming to be. And today we have a guest who's someone who's kind of been along for the ride in Fab City and Fab Lab for probably, I think, going on almost 4 years now. Myla Trung, who is a former student, former student technician from the College of Alameda Fab Lab, and now is working in part as a Fab City workforce project manager. So we'd like to introduce Myla.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Danny, for having me on your show.
Sure. And so just kind of before we get there, I gave a brief introduction to, how you've been involved with me in this Fab Lab and Fab City stuff. But if you want to just kind of provide, a 2-minute introduction to who you are, kind of where you're coming from and where you plan on going.
Okay. So I'm a bioengineering student at Laney College, and I'm hoping that I can get my AA in mathematics and AA in natural sciences, and then transfer to a 4-year to then get hopefully my master's in biotechnology, bioengineering with an emphasis on biotechnology. Yeah. And I met Danny through an engineering competition I did a while back, and I was introduced to the Laney Fab Lab, and that's where I did most of the work for that engineering project. From there, I was onboarded to be one of the first student technicians to start the Fab Lab at Alameda College, and from there, I've gotten really connected through a lot of people in Danny's network that has opened a lot of opportunities that has definitely helped me grow a lot, from me remembering back from being so clueless, figuring out this engineering project to where I'm at now. I see such a huge difference. And I hope to continue with this mission with Fab City and continue this movement.
And just a heads up as well, I may have some poor internet connection here. I'm actually on the road traveling. I had picked up and disappeared from the Bay Area for the moment in order to get my family away from all the fires and smoke up there. I'm happy to report that at least the air quality to the general Bay Area seems to have improved quite a bit, though the fires are still pretty active there. But it may be a little glitchy here while we're on the road, but please bear with us all. So Myla, your first introduction was for this engineering project or engineering competition that you ran. Can you explain maybe a little bit more about that, and how did you work with the Fab Lab, and also how did that end up?
Okay, so I'm very active in this program called MESA, Mathematics, Engineering, Science Achievement. It's a supportive program based in College of Alameda. My counselor through that program connected me or introduced me to the Fab Lab at Laney College, which had been there for about a year and a half or so, and I never knew about it, and I was just mind blown when I came to tour the lab. I saw all the cool things that people made and all the cool machinery that people got to learn, and I was just like immediately intrigued, and I was like, I need to learn everything. And then from there, shortly after, MESA did a whole Bay Area Alliance competition where they had high school students and a bunch of college students create this contraption that helped help us pretty much walk on water. And then it was a race between all of the competitors that were a part of the competition. And so once I onboarded for that competition, I immediately knew that I needed to collaborate with the Laney Fab Lab because they would provide me the resources and the support I needed to be successful at this competition. So I did a lot, me and my team, we did a lot of our work out of the Laney Fab Lab and got a lot of support. I remember Danny gave me this huge cube of styrofoam, and like our biggest struggle was trying to cut that sucker down. But once we got it cut down and everything, we made a really cool little contraption, and my team, we won most innovative design. And but even though in the middle of our competition, our teammate who was on the contraption, it like broke in the middle of it, but we still won an award, which was very made us all really happy. And even though we didn't win the overall competition, it was such an amazing experience because we all got to learn so much. And even as the competition was going, we were already thinking in our head, how can we make this contraption even better if we were to compete again next year? So it was just an amazing learning experience. And having that experience definitely kickstarted my whole interest in Fab Labs and wanting to get more people involved in Fab Labs, because that was just an experience that I hope that everyone can someday go through and feel the feelings that me and my team got to feel through that whole experience.
Well, and just to unpack this idea of a Fab Lab for those who don't know, Fab Lab is a facility that myself and my company focus on building primarily within education, where I can refer to as a high-tech shop class. Though the model and the way in which they operate is pretty substantially different than a normal classroom. It operates like a computer lab or as an open campus resource. But we fill those places full of a bunch of different tools, both hand tools, power tools, but then we really get into kind of automated industry equipment. And so Fab Labs are really great exposure tools, and with Mila here, part of what we're talking is that it was one small introduction project, was small from my perspective because there's dozens of those things that come through on a regular basis. But it seems to have been a very big project for you in particular because you're still pretty actively involved in Fab Labs and Fab City, and you've kind of gone off with Port Workspaces as well, doing contract work through them. And so it's we're trying to do here is kind of highlight the impacts that it has on an individual. And you're still a student, you're still in school, yet you've been able to make money with kind of these skills of Fab Lab or being included in this network. And so can you just maybe highlight what was it from the first time you stepped in the lab? Was it like, oh my God, this is an amazing space and I really need to get to learn it more? Or was it, your first project that you learned the value of making and prototyping and putting your hands on stuff? Or what was it that really got your attention and, has you, putting a reasonable amount of your attention now towards Fab Lab and Fab type projects?
Well, I feel it was a definite domino effect because I went on the tour with Mesa to the Laney Fab Lab, and from there, that was the initial spark. I was just it sparked my curiosity and how people 3D printed things. It was just so many cool little things that I want to learn how to make that. And then from there, I think the engineering competition just gave me the opportunity to actually utilize the Fab Lab and learn the struggles of managing a project, designing it from scratch to actually finish with a finished product. And then from there, you gave me the opportunity to be onboarded as a student technician to start the College of Alameda Fab Lab. And I think from there, that that definitely was, I feel, is the um, initial kind of push for me to see the deeper value of it all. Because when I was onboarded as a student technician, I was trained to operate all these machines and also navigate the different softwares that we use to communicate with these machines. And then what really touched me was me being able to learn all of that, absorb all of that, and then I was able to teach my peers. People that I was in class with would come into the lab, people that I never even met before. It was so many, it pulled in so many students, and even not just students, but faculty, staff, community members, and the whole image of the collaboration and how people would get excited when they would finish their whatever they were making, that glisten in their eyes. It definitely like kickstarted that fire in me, and just became really, really passionate about making sure that like a resource like this is available to people. Because before I met or learned about Fab Labs, I was just a normal student just going to classes, and then the Fab Labs gave me something, you know, feasible, or something that is just in my face to show me that, hey, this is the type of things you're learning in class, and this is how you can apply it. Because then I can apply the physics that I'm thinking about, or the like the chemistry of things. It definitely solidified a lot of things that I was learning and I was struggling in class. And just being able to inspire other people, that was definitely a big thumbs up for me. And then
So do you think that with your existing courses that you were taking, or ones that you've since then, do you think that is the Fab Lab helping you perform better in those courses, or potentially is it just giving you a place to apply that knowledge, therefore seeing the relevance of it in your future more directly rather than indirectly, where you learn something and it's like one day this knowledge is going to be useful and you're going to be able to apply it. How does it for you, how has using the Fab Lab and having access, not even just through teaching or a student technician in there, but just having access to that facility, how has that actually supported the learnings?
It definitely, because before the Fab Labs, learning everything was theoretical for me, and I wasn't able to apply it as much as I am being in the work that I'm doing now. So I would say it supports me by giving me something technical to do, or to apply those type of things, and also just giving me the background knowledge of how something is engineered. As a bioengineering student, I feel like having the background of knowing how something is created from start to finish, that's useful to not just engineering students, but all types of students, just so that we can understand how these processes go about. And then from there, we have this finished thing. Yeah.
Cool. One of the things that I remember is that from early on, when we were first getting Alameda Lab on the ground, there was a number of months where it was closed, but we still had you and other student technicians that were on board. I remember a lot of vinyl.
Oh yeah.
that you were working
Oh
on.
my
It's,
God.
I think at this point you're pretty proficient in how to use the vinyl cutter and how to apply the graphics. Do you think that experience of really diving in deep and doing a lot with one particular machine, given that, yes, it may have gotten boring or redundant while you're doing it, but do you think that that's a viable way to really like help you understand and solidify that knowledge?
Yeah, well, definitely, because for example, Adobe Illustrator, though, that's a 2D software that um, manipulates vectors. And vectors, I deal with vectors a lot in math, and then also in like computer science classes, and seeing how it goes from a software and then from there physically communicating with a machine to cut out your design. I feel like that just solidifies everything that I've learned in class. Yeah. So, and then like continuously doing something, initially learning it, and then continuously doing that same practice, I've gotten so much better. And when I got onboarded for Port Product Lab, that was pretty much my main task. Pretty much is dealing with signage and things like that. And then from there, I moved to to 3D printers and things like that. And then it kind of geared me towards to education opportunities too, which I can talk more about that a little bit later. But I definitely, from the first day that I onboarded as a student technician at College of Alameda, I had zero skills in this type of field until now. I can confidently run the vinyl cutter to do any type of signage or make t-shirts or whatever it is with the vinyl cutter. And then I'm very confident with laser cutter and whatnot. And then also, like today, I had to pull apart a whole 3D printer. I would have never had the confidence, or it would even be like, I would be so scared to screw something up. But today I just did it just because like I could figure it out. I knew how it worked. And yeah, so our 3D printer was clogged up with a bunch of PLA. So I had to pull it apart. But yeah, from the day that I got into the engineering competition to now, definitely like my knowledge is so much broader, and my confidence is so much higher. If you would have told me to pull apart a 3D printer on the day that I was getting into that engineering competition, I would have been like, no way, I do not want to screw up your 3D printer.
And, I've torn apart a ton of things, and usually I start with things that are broken. Because if you tear apart something that's broken, that's not working from when you start it, then it doesn't work. You're done. No harm, no foul. But if you can figure it out, then all of a sudden it's better. So, and I started at a young age with TVs and other things like that. I'm like, okay, let's just open it up. It's it's destined to landfill already, so can't screw it up anymore, essentially. But one of the kind of, I guess, important things that I'm hearing there is that really it's, you stepped initially into the Fab Lab without a lot of skills. I think you were in your first year of community college. Was it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So relatively new to a college setting. Didn't have any skills. I would say that your kind of presentation skills or your confidence level highest, and really primarily what we look for, both with members and people that come and use the Fab Labs, but especially within our student technicians, is we're not actually looking for people that are skilled, that they know how to do. It's the number one filter is mindset. Are you willing to learn? Are you willing to fail? Are you willing to try over and over again? And I, it's really easy for people to find that thing that says, yes, I'm willing to try for this. We're inside of a Fab Lab setting because there's such a diversity of things that are there. You can appeal to someone if they're into fashion and textiles. You can appeal to someone if they're into furniture making. You can appeal to someone if they're into architecture or if they're into electronics or whatever. And so really having that kind of plethora of opportunities allows people to say, okay, yes, I may not have enough skills now, but that thing that interests me, and that's interests me enough to be willing to fail, to be willing to to eat crow, to not understand what I'm doing, and just struggle, but it's a productive struggle. So I think it's really it's a testament to the way in which the Fab works, but also the model. To like, okay, we just need to spark that interest, find an interest in that one person, that person that gets them excited. Because yeah, you spend a lot of time with a vinyl cutter. I don't think you were ever, drooling over a vinyl cutter and said, "Oh my God, this is the best thing ever." But once you can build a little bit of confidence in one tool, it becomes easier to when you do it time, and easier when you do it again, and easier when you do it the next time, and it really just kind of becomes this thing that it's like, okay, good. Then today we're going to just do something brand new. We're going to throw a new thing at you that we've never done before, and you're just going to learn it. And it's this kind of resiliency standpoint. It's like, okay, well, I just failed miserably on the last thing, but I'm going to try again. I'm going to pick myself up, do it again, and do this. So one, you spent, I think, a year as a student tech. Did we have
Yes.
a full year for one semester?
Okay. It was a full year.
So we had to do it in the lab for a year, running around the lab, supporting the efforts in there. We're helping other people. Did you have any software design skills when you started? Or was that all brand new at that time?
Oh,
did you do any software design before?
No, before I was a student technician, nothing. No fabricating skills, no software design skills, nothing. I only had that eagerness to learn, like you said, and I was very interested, and I just saw the value in the Fab Lab, and hearing that you were starting one at my school that I started at, I was just like, heck yeah, I want to be on board. And definitely, but when I started, I was always having that fear of failing or messing something up. And I feel a lot of people can feel the same way, that fear of failure. And being a part of Fab Lab, I'm still a little nervous about messing things up, but I still have, I feel I have a lot more confidence from the initial day to now, where if I feel like I don't know something or I'm uncertain about something, I'm able to find the answers where I need to get answers. And then from there, I'm able to, I'm self-sufficient to move forward and get things done and figure things out as needed. Before I would be very scared and would rather have someone just, tell me what I need to do or things like that. But I feel like the more that I'm working with you, the more that I get comfortable with, okay, there's going to be things that we're going to be uncertain about, but we just have to be on our toes and adapt and just figure things out as a team. Because something that you said a while back about our PPE push is we're designing the plane as we're flying it. And that has stuck with me. And I'm going to keep that as like a life motive, that sometimes things are not in place and we just have to figure those systems out and move forward. And, don't let things bog us down. Don't let fear bog us down. Just, keep going. You screw up, stand back up and keep going.
And it's one thing to kind of really tout and highlight that, yes, the Fab Lab help you gain these technical skills. It helped you gain confidence, but you're not just willing to experiment when it comes to the technical skills. You're not just willing to throw yourself in. It's like, oh, there's another machine. Okay, I can figure that out. There's more design software. Okay, I can get through that. There's I think kind of the first big assignment or project that we brought you on for was something through the Product Lab. Was the project with XQ.
Oh yeah.
Really, that project, was fairly independent. Like you really had to pick up and now project manage. Now be responsible for the learnings of nearly a dozen other people. And not just doing it as the the person's tour guide or instructor for an hour but you actually had to shut the entire project forward. And I think that project also forced you to stretch and expand a bit, because now you had to you took the technical knowledge you had in the equipment and machines and the software, but then you had to share that with everyone else. But on top of that, you also had to project manage. You had to do, a lot of what I continually refer to as cat herding. You have to get all these people on the same page and point them in the right direction and hold everyone's hand in order to achieve the same goal. So can you just, describe a bit more about that project, what you were doing, and, how you felt both, at the beginning of it, at the middle of it, and the end of it? How did your perception change as you went through the project?
Okay. Cool. So that was actually my first project that kind of shifted. I guess being student technician, that was education based as well, because I was kind of teaching my peers. But that project definitely. But as a student technician, I was still able to work on projects and stuff like that on my own. But for the XQ project, it definitely shift gears for me, where the core was education, and the core was to teach these high school students who was just like me, had zero knowledge of design, zero knowledge of fabrication, and I had to lead them through a design process. We had to.
Can you provide a little more background on who you were leading and kind of outcome? What were the goals of the project?
Okay, so I was working with a charter school called Latitude High that's based in Merritt College, and they were the designer and fabricator. They were a team of, how many was it? 2, 4, 6, 7. There were 7 students, and there was me and Sal. Sal is my boss at Port Product Lab. And so we had a client called, the name of the company is XQ, and their mission is to kind of gear education towards technology. And so they have a huge network of funders and just a huge network. And every year they send out a bunch of holiday gifts to people to show that their appreciation. And so this project, the main goal was to let this group of high school students lead the ideation and the design and the fabrication of the holiday gifts. So we started with no idea at all, just some type of input from XQ as the client, and then from there we went through the design process of, okay, so this is the aspects that XQ wants, what they want this holiday gift to convey, this message, things like that. From there, the group of students and I and Sal, we worked together to kind of hash out some ideas, and we went through a lot of different ideas before we were able to go into prototyping. And we first we prototyped with just regular paper, printer paper. We moved on to cardboard after that, and then from there we moved on to actual material that we can put into the laser cutter. From we did some acrylic, we did just some MDF, just to kind of see what our product would look like as a solid product. And we ended up choosing chalkboard, just regular black chalkboard as our material. And we wanted it to be very interactive. So we didn't want to just send XQ a bunch of things that were already made. We wanted it to be interactive. So we created this kind of product where the receiver would get 2 sheets, which I actually have because there was some at the lab. So these are 2 sheets of chalkboard, and then these were all cut out on the laser. And if you can see, probably not see on this side, but this is the silhouette of the team of the students. Those are the students I worked with. So we went from
so you guys took a group photo and made a silhouette.
Yeah, and we put that.
Everybody.
Yeah, we put that into Adobe Illustrator, and we created their silhouette. And then these are the components to create the finished product. And the finished product was a planter. And the planter was to represent the growth of the students throughout this whole. They only had 2 months to do all of this, and the receiver would get a planter and these components where they can put together. And then there was also a callback initiative where they can post their planter and whatever they drew on their planter and just to kind of show off the students' work. And so the beginning of the project, I was definitely nervous because I've never set up a education plan, or I don't know what teachers have to do pretty much, set up their curriculum, and try to find a way to connect with younger generations. That was my first time really deeply working with younger students. And so there was a lot of different struggles working with people who have no experience, but then after that learning curve, they were confident in the whole design process, and they were excited to see how these components were made on the laser cutter. And yeah, they were really active throughout the whole project. And towards the middle, I was a little worried. Towards the middle of the project, I was a little worried because XQ liked the design so much that they asked for more units than what they initially asked for. So in my head, I was like, oh gosh, that adds a lot of time to production. And so I was a little nervous towards the middle, but towards the end of the project, I was very relieved that we were able to fulfill the number of units and more for XQ. And I was also very happy with the growth that I've seen in my students, because from day one to the end of the project, I've seen such a drastic difference in all of them, even though it was only 2 months. For example, one of my students, her name was Lola. The first day, I asked them all to walk up to the board and kind of put in aspects or write down an aspect that they feel is most powerful when you receive a gift from someone. And she wouldn't even want to walk up to the board to just write something on the board. She didn't even have to say anything. She didn't want to do that. But at the end of the project, she was the one to stand up to execute and present our idea. And that was such a refreshing feeling for me. And like, it makes me really emotional to think about that type of thing, because it, I don't know, that experience of growth and seeing someone step out of their comfort zone and creating a bigger comfort zone for themselves, and knowing that I was able to be a part of that with them is just a feeling that I can't even explain. And it makes me think about when I was a young girl and I was very shy and everything, and so many times that I had to step out of my comfort zone, and a lot of it was through my experience with working with Danny. Like I've been in a lot of situations where I was uncomfortable, but I just kind of, was like, oh, Danny has my back. I got this. I have the support and the resources to be successful. So yeah, just thinking about all of that and connecting it all together, it's an amazing experience, and I feel this should become a huge thing, and a lot of people should have access to this type of learning.
Yeah, and I think with projects like this, with using a fab lab and other similar facilities, it's helping you as an individual become comfortable with being uncomfortable, rather than the story with Lola is like, okay, just this. There's not even a bunch of people in the room. It's not like she's at, when she started, she wasn't being asked to give a presentation in front of 50 people. There's 10 people in the room, and she was asking to like go write something on the board. And, there was almost no willingness at that point to be put into an uncomfortable position. And it took 2 months, of going through a project of a lot of failure. But we're teaching that failure is not the bad thing. It's actually the good thing. It's what helps you push forward when you get stuck on something. But through a lot of failure, through a lot of success, because you can't grow yourself entirely unless you do have success. Otherwise, if you always fail, that would definitely push you away. But and it sounded like she's getting put into this environment to go give the presentation about the entire project and the product that they came up with. and they're, just changed her willingness to be uncomfortable, because that was
Yeah.
still over the 2 months. She still, she wasn't practicing every day with giving presentations.
No.
It was just changing her mental state to being
Mhm.
open to being, okay, I'm gonna go be uncomfortable, but I'm excited to share, and it's finding the right thing that tickles, the person's interest, that says, okay, this, I'm willing to become uncomfortable for this,
Mhm.
and it sounds like, really inspired her. The project inspired her, and, potentially even the final product could have been something that, she really loved.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah, definitely.
you
And
know,
there was a lot of ideas that the team had wanted to apply into our final design, but from the feedback from the client XQ, we'd had to change a lot of things, and that's something that they had to learn as well. But I think that the this the feeling of having a strong team definitely helped them to be comfortable with each other, because with them sitting next to each other, I felt them feeling more stronger as one too.
mhm,
So I feel
mhm,
because we built that connection with each other, they were more comfortable to be uncomfortable with each other.
mhm.
Yeah. So I feel that's a really strong thing too, with about Fab Labs, is just the collaboration and the connections you make. That helps a lot with the confidence, and just making uncomfortable situations more comforting, if that makes sense.
Um, I just want to kind of chime in, and for anybody who may have just joined us, this is Fab City Now, and I'm talking with Mila here about her experience of really going from purely a student to a teacher and a facilitator now, in working within Fab Labs, and now this Fab City construct. Uh, and so, going out, well, kind of wrapping up that project, the XQ project. How many total units did they request or purchase?
I think we ended at around like 800 something.
So 800 and something, and each unit took roughly how long on a laser cutter?
On the laser cutter. That was another thing that I taught the students, is that when we're running the laser, we're trying to think of efficiency. So we were able to maximize our laser bed size that we had access to, and we fit 4 units onto one sheet. It went a lot faster than we expected, because we thought we would only fit about 2. So we cut our production time down by 50% pretty much, by just fiddling around with the design a little bit more. And yeah.
Hmm. And how many of those 800 did you run personally?
I'm sorry.
How many of those did you run yourself?
Pretty much most of it.
How many of those? Yeah.
Pretty much
About how
most of
many?
it. Pretty much
Most of it.
most of it.
Okay.
Yeah, most of it. Some of the students came in on some days to run the laser, but generally it was mostly me, because the goal was definitely to teach them the design aspect of it, and they had the choice to be a part of production if they wanted to, which I was very excited to see that all of them wanted to come and help with production, which they helped with a lot. But yeah, it was a lot of hours on the laser, and prepping the material and cleaning the material and making sure it's ready to be packaged and whatnot. So yeah.
And it probably makes it a little easier, because there's a lot of pride that's wrapped up into the project too. So if you're very
Mhm.
proud of what you're doing, yes, you'll show up and you'll sit in front of a laser cutter for 5 hours at a time, just pushing the button over and over, loading sheets and unloading
Yeah.
sheets. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, so that sounds like a great project, and sounds like you got a lot of growth out of it yourself.
Yeah.
As well as I think the students got a lot of growth.
Mhm.
Um, and that project, gave me a higher confidence level in you, though, after working with you for a number of years, I think we've really brought that idea, or that feeling of being comfortable with being uncomfortable. But that really, opened up this new project that you're doing now for Fab City, as this workforce project manager. I'll just kind of set up the project. We're working with the local Lau Family Foundation through the Oakland Workforce Development Board for a summer employment project that primarily we're kind of wrapping around local personal protective equipment production happening, and then we're placing those what they're referring to as opportunity youth. We're placing them into a handful of different local companies that are putting them to work. Now, this project, my side of the equation, has not gone anything close to plan because I really plan to be there side by side with you doing most of this. But I was, the last week or so, I've been busy packing my family up and trying to get out of town. And so I've really had to leave a lot of it on your shoulders. And yet the feedback that I'm hearing and the emails that I'm reading, like, one, gives me plenty of confidence level that I think you've got a lot of it handled. But generally people are happy. And I think we've done a good job of placing people. But can you just, chime in about your experience with this project? And we're in the middle of it right now. So I'm sure there's going to be some new pains that show up in the middle of it, and we're going to have to get through those things. And we won't know the full success of it until the program's over, but we've still got a few weeks left of it.
Yeah. So this is actually the last day of all of the interns' first week on site, and all of them were very excited to start because the first week, a lot of it was Zoom meetings where I was just kind of giving them onboarding them and giving them orientation of the different systems that we put in place. And then from there, I gave them some direction through how to run a laser cutter and kind of understanding the vector colors and the size of the stroke and whatnot, just so that they're prepared when they do go on site. And that was kind of challenging to try to teach someone about the laser cutter through Zoom. That was very challenging. But definitely in the beginning, when I started the project with you, I was very unclear about a lot of things, but I was okay with that because like I said, I trust you, and I know that life is like that, where we just kind of have to adapt as we move forward. And so, and it was a lot of hustling and getting a lot of things done in a very short amount of time. But after talking to all the students and having their orientation and being able to send them to their designated sites and hearing that they are confident, that definitely makes me feel like, okay, yeah, you're doing something right. But so and even still today, I'm still kind of on my toes where I just don't want to mess anything up or do something wrong. So I'm just staying on my toes and making sure that all the interns are getting what they need, the support that they need, and the mentoring that they need. I've just been checking in with them, making sure that they understand what they need to get done, and just making sure that they're not confused about anything. And I feel they're very confident in everything from the clocking in, the media uploads, all that good stuff. And they're just all ready to work. And we all visited Moxie on the first week of orientation. And everyone seemed really excited and ready to go.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Can you lay out kind of the work that's happening at the different sites, or what kind of stuff are they working on at the different locations?
Oh yeah, of course. So we have a few locations. Port Product Lab here. I'm the site supervisor at Port Product Lab, and Port Product Lab is working with Moxie to make these viral guards. They're just like, they look like sneeze guards. and it's mainly a laser cutter project. So that's something that they're gonna push out a lot in the next few weeks. And then there's Oakology, which is like a furniture company. So we're doing a lot of woodworking over there, which we have we initially had one intern, but we had two late onboarders, so we have another intern starting there next week. And I think they're mainly focusing on woodworking stuff. And then Idea Builder Labs. That's where we're working with two social media interns, where they're going to focus. They're going to work with me and focus on building our marketing plan. And so this first week, they've been gathering a lot of intel on the whole Fab City mission, and just even before our PPE push, and they're gathering intel, and then starting next week, we're gonna plan our marketing program and hopefully publish it sometime next week as well. And yeah, so that's the main.
Well, and one thing that I want to highlight that's I guess unique about this, and really this project started months and months ago, when there was a thought that these people were going to be able to come in and kind of support our heavy push for PPE production when we were kind of knee deep in producing tons of masks and face shields and everything else.
Yeah.
And you know, it took a number of months to get off the ground rather than a number of weeks, which was initially anticipated. And so we've pivoted 3 or 4 times in the process of getting the project off the ground. And really where it's ended up is in a place that I'm feeling comfortable, and I kind of like the idea of it. Now, the execution is always the hard part, but is that you were able to take the interns that would, they're all in a subsidized employment program, and so they're all getting paid for 20 hours a week or up to 20 hours a week to help do any kind of work. And normally the Lafayette Foundation, which is contracting, they would have a one-off relationship with one employer, and they would take 1 or 2 people and put them to work doing various things. But what we were able to do with the Fab City area team is pull together a number of different organizations and companies that we work with through Fab City, and be kind of the primary facilitator. So we made this arrangement a lot on the Lab Foundation, because we're able to take 10 people or 11 people and give them one point of contact, being us, and then get them out to the different sites. But one thing that I didn't really anticipate when we began that project, but is really I'm happy with, is that during the onboarding, when we were initially talking to them, we're decoding and understanding who they are, what they want to do. Are they going to school next? Are they looking for a job next? What industries are they going into? And rather than put 1 or 2 opportunities in front of them and say, here's your choice, we were actually able to kind of filter that and say, oh, wait a minute, you're actually not going to school and looking for full-time work, and you have an interest in wood. I'm going to put you over here in this site where we're looking for employees. And we're able to really kind of tailor towards that. And I think one of the interns is looking at going into civil engineering as a background. And I was really able to push and say, hey, why don't you get into one of the shops? Go get into one of the places where they're actually using heavy equipment to produce. Because the civil engineer, it's not quite product development, but you're engineering things that other people are responsible for building. And the more exposure we can give you on the front end of your career, the better, because now you're going to have an understanding of how some things are made. Obviously not all things, but you're getting an understanding of how things are made, how the processes work, how the machines work, etc. And that really can shift someone's perspective to where they go in life and where the career, the career trajectory is going to go. Now, I'm hearing kind of an analogy of potentially your experience with the Fab Labs and being a student tech and being in there using the facilities. How has both your Fab Lab work and now your Fab City work and all the other coordination stuff, how that stuff influenced your future and your career path?
Definitely, I feel a lot more confident in my career path, because before I got into working with you, I was nervous. Because I would be looking at internships or entry-level jobs for bioengineers, and all of the criteria just seemed so scary and unrealistic for a graduating college student. And so I was very nervous about it all. But then once I got plugged into the network and started doing the work that I have been doing, it has definitely boosted my confidence in that path. And I've gotten a lot of connections that can help me with getting the type of jobs that I would possibly want when I'm graduated. For example, at Port Product Lab, there's a company called Frost Methane. They deal with greenhouse gases. And that's exactly the type of things that I want to get into. And I continuously meet these type of people and create these connections. So I'm definitely a lot more confident, and I'm like blazing through now with so much fire compared to before I got connected into your network. And also getting all of this experience from just the technical things of designing and operating these machines, from program coordination and to now to managing a huge project. My confidence level has skyrocketed. Yeah, I'm still nervous, even when I'm still in the project right now. But I feel anything that's worth it is going to make you nervous. So getting this hands-on experience definitely makes me feel very strong about my competitive edge moving forward and trying to get into the industries that I want.
Right. And just kind of creating an analogy of if you never got exposure to the Fab Lab, one, you may or may not be on the same career path you were before. But for most people's educational experience is you go to school, maybe you pick up a summer internship here or there, and you're trying to, and when you go try to get a job, you're holding up your degree that you've achieved, but then you're pointing to those temporary summer activities that you did to try to go get a job and say, well, I have experiences right there. And a lot of people that are coming out of college, that's the extent of their work experience. It's like, okay, or maybe you worked at McDonald's, or you did some other job that had not a lot of relevance to the career choice that you're going into. And for people coming out of college, you have to go earn your keep. You've got to go prove yourself to other people, and also for yourself. You got to prove that you're not just a good student, but you can be a good employee, or you can you can manage things on your own. And so it's amazing that we're able to really help you in particular get all of this exposure, get all of these opportunities in front of you, because you actually have a robust resume right now. You're it's not quite saying biomechanical engineer yet, but as soon as you add a degree on top of that, with all of the relevant experience you have, that gives you a huge door opener. You've already got a foot in the door. And it's cool that one of these other companies that you're engaging with now are going to say, hey, when you get your degree, come back.
Yeah.
You're getting that exposure now. So rather than getting the experience after you graduate college, after you've kind of achieved that first month, getting it before you're there, so that when you do exit with that degree of your choice, you've got plenty of experience to go off and get a real job. You don't have to go ask for your job or your first degree. You already had some of that exposure. And how do you think that you would have benefited? You know, I think it's both fortunate and unfortunate for the students from Latitude High that the experience that they had in that project is very fortunate to participate in that. And it sounds like, at least with a number of them, it really, you know, made an impact on their life where they're at currently. Um, but the unfortunate part is that, you know, they didn't get a Fab Lab. They don't get
No.
they don't get that access on a regular basis. They don't get to do that next week or next month. They don't get to plan their next project after that. But how do you think that your life and your, you know, career potential would have been impacted if, you know, say day one in the ninth grade, you were pulled into the Fab Lab in this kind of open-ended, open door policy type of framework? How would that have changed, you know, even just your high school perspective?
Oh man, I feel like I would have definitely, when I graduated high school, I would have been so confident into going into a field like engineering, because when I graduated high school, I was like, I suck at math. There's no way I'm going to be successful as an engineer. So I completely went in a completely different path. I started with business at first. And I feel a lot of people do that. They just choose what they're comfortable with out of high school. Uh, and but if there was more resources like a Fab Lab, I feel that can inspire, like, that can be that initial spark for so many people to uh, look into fields like architecture or things like engineering or anything that can go about with designing. And I feel if people were to have exposure earlier on, then they're building those skills so much sooner. And all this time that it takes to strengthen your design skills and strengthen your manufacturing skills, that's so much that's so much more time that they have experience and they can build on. And I feel resources like this is definitely, it helps other people live a little bit better too, because um, there's a lot of communities that don't have this type of resources happen to, and I feel that's the type of environment where when you graduate out of high school, you're so you have no confidence in what you're gonna do next, just like how I was when I graduated high school. So I feel of Fab Labs and this whole movement is important because it can instill something that uh, can be that first domino effect for a younger student.
I like that analogy of, you know, it's not giving someone a life or giving someone something to hope for, but it can be a tool that pushes that first domino that then builds that opportunity and builds the momentum for someone to really make progress. Um, you know, and I think with someone like yourself, like, yes, when we first met, you were pretty shy, and you know, you generally just said yes when we asked things. So I think that your willingness there to do things is really what created a lot of this opportunity for yourself.
Mhm.
Um, but I could totally see that, yes, if you had 4 years of Fab Lab experience in high school, the person we saw when you were first starting community college would be entirely different. It would be much closer to the person you are now,
Mhm.
because you would have had the opportunity to be more, you know, to build more confidence, to embrace failure, um, you know, and you know, just to have a clear understanding of, like, yes, okay, this is the right direction for me.
Mhm.
So I'm grateful that you are that you're still here, and that you're still willing to take on these crazy assignments. And
Mhm.
even more grateful for you to, you know, manage the things in the midst of chaos, where people like myself with a wife and two kids are trying to dodge things and get into out of harm's way. You know, I'm grateful that you're there doing that work, and maintaining things. And you know, I don't see any of this as the end or even close to the end of our work together. Like my goal now is to help push you in that direction of biomanufacturing, biomaterials. You look at climate science and things like that, and give you some direct applicability with that stuff and this Fab City vision, this concept of producing everything we consume. Because one day I'm going to kind of jump in and unpack that idea, but we're looking at biomaterials are the way of the future. The biomaterials are the way that we're going to address most of these things and achieve these audacious goals. So getting into biomanufacturing, and looking at the climate science and those things are extremely helpful for achieving this vision. So, I really hope to continue to give you little morsels and tidbits of information and say, go here, go in this direction, because once you get a little deeper there, we're going to be able to pull you back and say, okay, now we've got a real problem that we need you to solve. And it's not just helping other people and inspiring other people, which is important, but also giving you more of a career focus too. So we're hitting just about an hour here, so I think we're going to wrap it up. Give you a chance to just chime in and and close out and share anything that you want to share.
I just wanted to say I'm really grateful that I got to meet you and get connected with you, and I'm grateful that you're giving me so many opportunities. Without you, I wouldn't see myself in the position that I am today.
Well, I appreciate that, but without you and people like you, the work that I do, has only a minimal impact because I can only do so much directly myself. So, once again, thank you for showing up and doing the work that you do, and picking up that torch to help inspire us and lead us towards a future. And thank you for making time today. I'm sure I'm taking your time away from doing other things that I want you to do as well. But I appreciate your time today, and I look forward to seeing what happens next, and we'll kind of report back soon about how the latest project is wrapping up.
Awesome.
So great. Thanks again, Mila.
Thank you, Danny. Bye, everyone.